Ah, look who just cracked the vault. Welcome back, you beautiful code breakers, system glitchers, reality hackers who just did the one thing they spent billions, no, trillions, trying to prevent. You exposed it, didn't you? Not with a megaphone, not with a movement, not with some viral campaign. No, you did something far more dangerous. You existed in a way that revealed the lie, the entire structure, the whole illusion they built to keep you controllable, predictable, profitable. And now they're scrambling, panicking, holding emergency meetings at 3 a.m. because one person, you, just shattered what cost them everything to hide. You want to know what's really happening right now? While you're watching this, there are boardrooms going silent. There are executives staring at screens, refreshing data that doesn't make sense anymore. There are algorithms choking, systems malfunctioning, predictions failing. Because somewhere in the code, in the patterns, in the carefully constructed matrix of control, you appeared, not as a glitch, but as proof. Proof that the entire system was a fabrication. Proof that what they sold as reality was just a very expensive, very fragile illusion. And you didn't need a degree, didn't need a platform, didn't need permission. You just stopped playing along. And that was the billion-dollar threat they never prepared for. Let me tell you what they don't want you to realize. Everything, every single institution, every narrative, every crisis, every solution, it's theater, billion-dollar theater designed to keep you in a state of perpetual reaction. They don't want you thinking. They want you triggered. They don't want you questioning. They want you consuming. They don't want you sovereign. They want you subscribed, medicated, distracted, chasing solutions to problems they invented. But you stopped mid-script, didn't you? You looked around at the stage, saw the wires, noticed the actors reading from teleprompters, felt the manipulation in real time. And the moment you did, the moment you refused to react on cue, the entire production started falling apart. They spent billions building the walls, but you found the door they forgot to lock. Not because you're special, but because you stopped believing you weren't. You stopped asking for validation from systems designed to withhold it. You stopped waiting for permission from authorities who derive power from your obedience. You stopped playing a game rigged against you and started writing new rules. And that is the unforgivable act. Because if one person can step outside the script and thrive, if one soul can reject the programming and still succeed, still smile, still evolve, then the whole facade crumbles. And they know it. They feel it. They're watching it happen in real time, through data they can't manipulate anymore. Here's what they're panicking about right now. You're not angry in the way they can monetize. You're not desperate in the way they can exploit. You're not confused in the way they can redirect. You've gone quiet, calculated, observant. You've stopped feeding the beast, stopped clicking the bait, stopped reacting to the fear they manufacture daily. And without your attention, without your energy, without your compliance, the machine starts dying. Billion-dollar industries built on your insecurity, your anxiety, your need to fit in, they're losing power. Not because you're fighting them, but because you stopped needing what they're selling. You became the worst kind of threat, immune. They tried everything, didn't they? They tried shaming you back into line. They tried guilt, told you that your silence was privilege, your boundaries were selfishness, your peace was ignorance. They sent people, agents disguised as friends, lovers, mentors, all programmed with the same mission: get you back on script, make you doubt yourself, make you question your instincts, make you believe that your clarity was confusion. But it didn't work, did it? Because you'd already seen too much. You'd already felt the difference between their noise and your truth. You'd already tasted freedom, and there's no going back from that. Once you know, you can't unknow. Once you see, you can't unsee. You know what's fascinating? They spent billions hiding a secret so simple it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud. You don't need them. That's it. That's the whole thing. You don't need their approval, their products, their systems, their solutions. You don't need to be fixed, upgraded, optimized, or saved. You're not broken. You were never broken. You were just convinced you were, so you'd keep buying the cure. They built entire economies on your belief that you're insufficient. And the moment you stopped believing it, the moment you stood in your raw, unfiltered, unapologetic existence and said, "I'm enough," their entire empire started cracking. Because you are the resource they've been mining, and you just cut off their access. Here's the part that really terrifies them. You're not alone. You think you are, but you're not. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands waking up the same way you did. Quietly, privately, without announcement. People who stopped arguing on the internet and started building in silence. People who stopped begging for change and started becoming it. People who realized the system doesn't break from the outside. It collapses from the inside when enough people simply stop participating. And they can feel it, the shift, the exodus, the mass awakening that no propaganda can reverse. They're losing control, and they know it. And the panic is setting in because all the money in the world can't buy back a mind that's freed itself. Let's go deeper, because this is where it gets beautiful. They tried to make you believe that power lives in institutions, in governments, in corporations, in celebrities, in experts. But you discovered the truth. Power lives in attention. Whoever controls attention controls reality. And for decades, they controlled yours. They told you what to fear, what to want, what to believe, when to panic, when to celebrate. They curated your emotional state like a playlist, and you danced, but then you stopped. You withdrew your attention, your energy, your belief. And without it, they're just people in expensive suits yelling into a void, desperate for you to look back, to react, to validate their authority. But you won't, will you? Because you've found something they can never offer: yourself. They called you crazy for questioning. They called you paranoid for noticing patterns. They called you unstable for refusing to accept contradictions as truth. And for a while, maybe you believed them. Maybe you thought something was wrong with you for seeing what others refused to see. But then you realized they weren't calling you crazy because you were wrong. They were calling you crazy because you were right. And your rightness was a threat to their control. So they pathologized your clarity, medicalized your resistance, labeled your awakening as a disorder. Because if you're sick, you need their cure. If you're broken, you need their fix. But you're neither sick nor broken. You're awake. And that's the one condition they have no treatment for. You want to know why they're in full panic mode? because you're doing something they never expected. You're thriving without them. You're not just surviving. You're building, creating, evolving outside their ecosystem. You're not waiting for their permission to live the life you want. You're not subscribing to their timeline of success. You're not measuring your worth by their metrics. You've gone rogue, and worse, you're happy. You're peaceful. You're free. And that image, that living proof that their system is optional, that's more dangerous than any revolution. Because revolutions can be infiltrated, but a soul at peace with itself, sovereign and untouchable, that can't be stopped, bought, or controlled. Here's what they don't want you to know. Every institution you were taught to trust, every authority you were raised to obey, every expert you were conditioned to believe, they're all part of the same network. Not a conspiracy in the shadows, but a system operating in plain sight. They don't need secret meetings when they all profit from the same structure. Keep you sick, they profit. Keep you scared, they profit. Keep you confused, they profit. Keep you divided, they profit. It's not personal, it's business. You're not a citizen to them. You're a consumer. You're not a person. You're a data point. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stopped being a willing participant in your own exploitation, you became the enemy. Let me tell you what happened when you exposed it. Not the moment you posted about it, not when you spoke about it, but the moment you embodied it, the moment you stopped arguing and started living differently. The moment you stopped trying to wake others up and just became the example, that's when the panic started. Because they can debate ideas, they can censor information, they can discredit voices, but they can't argue with a life well lived. They can't cancel peace. They can't ban sovereignty. They can't regulate freedom. And when people see you, truly see you, living proof that their system is a choice, not a requirement, the programming starts glitching. The matrix starts lagging. They tried to buy you back, didn't they? Not with money, but with comfort. They offered you convenience, entertainment, distraction. They made it easier to stay asleep than to stay awake. They designed a world where resistance requires effort and compliance requires nothing, where truth is work and lies are entertainment, where health is expensive and sickness is subsidized, where thinking is exhausting and believing is easy. They made waking up the hardest path, hoping you'd choose the comfort of ignorance, but you didn't. You chose the discomfort of truth, the isolation of clarity, the weight of seeing. And now you carry a burden they'll never understand, the knowledge that you can't go back. Here's the billion-dollar secret they're protecting. You're not meant to win their game. You're meant to play it forever. The degree that leads to debt, the job that barely pays it off, the promotion that costs your health, the treatment that creates new symptoms, the solution that generates new problems. It's designed that way. You're not failing their system. Their system is failing you by design. Because if you ever actually won, if you ever actually arrived, if you ever actually felt complete within their structure, you'd stop consuming, you'd stop chasing, you'd stop needing, and their entire economy collapses. So they move the goalpost, change the definition, create new crises. They keep you running on a treadmill, exhausted but going nowhere, convinced that the problem is you, not the machine. But you stopped running, didn't you? You stepped off the treadmill, and the whole room went silent. They didn't know what to do with someone who refused to chase what they were selling. They sent the usual tactics: shame, guilt, fear, comparison. They showed you everyone else, still running, still chasing, still believing. They called you lazy for resting, selfish for protecting your energy, arrogant for knowing your worth. They tried to drag you back into the race by making you feel like you were losing, but you weren't losing, you were leaving. And there's a difference they'll never admit. One means you failed, the other means the game was never worth playing. You know what the elites fear most? Not revolution, not rebellion, not protest. They fear indifference. They fear the moment you stop caring about their approval, their trends, their crises, their narratives. Because their power is performative, it only exists if you're watching. They need your attention to survive, your belief to thrive, your participation to dominate. But the moment you turn away, the moment you stop validating their authority with your focus, they become irrelevant. And irrelevance is death to those who built empires on being seen. You didn't fight them. You didn't argue with them. You just stopped looking. And that's the most powerful rebellion there is. Let's talk about the ones who came back. The people who tried to leave the system, got scared, and returned. The ones who saw the truth, felt the weight of it, and chose the comfort of the lie. They're the ones panicking the most right now, because they see you, still out here, still free, still thriving, and it reminds them of what they gave up. They traded their sovereignty for security, their truth for acceptance, their peace for approval, and now they're stuck watching you live the life they were too afraid to claim. They want you to fail, not because they hate you, but because your success is proof of their cowardice. Your freedom is a mirror they can't look into without seeing their own cage. Here's what they don't tell you about waking up. It's not a one-time event. It's a process. You don't just see the lie once and you're free. You see it everywhere, in everything, constantly. Every commercial, every news story, every social interaction, you see the manipulation, the agenda, the programming, and it's exhausting. You can't unsee it. You can't turn it off. You can't go back to blissful ignorance. This is the cost they don't mention. The loneliness of clarity, the isolation of truth, because most people are still asleep, still plugged in, still defending the system that's destroying them. And you're awake in a world that punishes awareness, but you chose it anyway, because slavery disguised as comfort is still slavery. They're scrambling right now because you're not following the script. You were supposed to comply, consume, and eventually collapse. You were supposed to burn out, give up, fade away. That's the trajectory they designed, the path they paved, the future they predicted. But you deviated. You healed when you were supposed to break. You questioned when you were supposed to obey. You thrived when you were supposed to survive. And now their algorithms don't know what to do with you. Their predictions are failing. Their models are broken because you're the anomaly, the outlier, the data point that doesn't fit. And one anomaly, that's an error. But thousands, that's a pattern. And patterns they can't control terrify them. Let me tell you what you really exposed. Not a conspiracy, not a secret society, not some hidden cabal. You exposed something far simpler and far more dangerous. You exposed that the emperor has no clothes, that the system only works if we believe in it, that authority is a collective hallucination we're all agreeing to see. You stopped agreeing. You withdrew your consent, your belief, your participation, and in doing so, you revealed that the whole thing is optional, that we give them power, they don't take it, that we build their empires with our compliance, our labor, our attention. And the moment enough people realize that, the moment enough minds withdraw their consent, the entire structure collapses. Not through violence, not through protest, but through mass awakening and quiet refusal. They spent billions building prisons that don't look like prisons. They gave you a phone and called it freedom. They gave you options and called it choice. They gave you debt and called it opportunity. They gave you distraction and called it entertainment. They gave you pills and called it healthcare. They built a cage so comfortable you'd forget you were trapped. So entertaining you'd forget to escape. So familiar you'd defend it from anyone trying to free you. But you saw the bars, didn't you? You felt the walls closing in. You recognized the cage even when everyone else called it home. And you walked out, not because you were rebellious, but because you remembered what freedom felt like. Here's the part they're really panicking about. You're teaching others just by existing. You didn't write a book. You didn't start a movement. You didn't build a platform. You just lived differently, and people noticed. They saw your peace and got curious. They saw your boundaries and got inspired. They saw your refusal to participate in the chaos and started questioning their own participation. You became a walking example that another way is possible. And examples are contagious. They can ban information, they can censor voices, they can control narratives, but they can't ban a life well lived. They can't censor freedom embodied. They can't control the inspiration that spreads when one person remembers who they are. You know what's beautiful? They thought controlling information would control you. They thought if they owned the media, the schools, the platforms, they'd own your mind. And for a while, it worked. But then you did something they didn't account for. You started trusting yourself more than you trusted them. You started listening to your body more than their experts. You started following your intuition more than their instructions. You became your own authority. And that's the crack in their foundation. Because their entire system is built on you doubting yourself, on you believing you need them to interpret reality for you. The moment you trusted your own perception, the moment you validated your own experience, you became untouchable. Let me tell you what happens next. They'll try to normalize it, try to co-opt it, try to sell it back to you. They'll create awakening products, freedom, subscriptions, sovereignty, courses. They'll take the language of liberation and turn it into marketing. They'll hire influencers to perform consciousness while selling you the same chains with different branding. They'll try to make waking up another trend you can consume, another identity you can buy, another aesthetic you can perform. But you'll see through it, won't you? Because you know the difference between real freedom and performed freedom. You know the difference between actual peace and packaged peace. You can't be sold what you've already become. Here's the truth they're desperately hiding. You don't need fixing. You need unfixing. You don't need more information. You need to unlearn the lies. You don't need to be built up. You need to be stripped down to what's real. Every program, every system, every structure they created was designed to layer you with conditioning, with beliefs that aren't yours, with desires that were planted,